Hello everyone. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can apply animation to a metahuman character and also how to attach a cloth that is not entirely matched with the body of a metahuman to a metahuman character and and some other tips and tricks in Unreal. I have done this project and I will put a link for the company that has produced this product later in my channel in this video. And this is the animation that I have made in Unreal. And I'm going to explain everything step by step on how to just do this animation. And here's Maya scene that I have worked with. Actually, I have done the entire work in Maya and exported everything in Unreal. And even the camera, as you can see, has been done in Maya. And for animation, I actually used Mixamo animation, which is this animation called Roundhouse, you can see. And I just downloaded the animation without the skin, like that, with 30 frames per second. And the animation, the original animation was like that. Without this animation layer, it was like that. As you can see, it is not the animation that I wanted. And by adding some keyframe on this animation layer, I modified the animation to match my desired animation. So let's do it from scratch. And here is the Unreal version. And before doing anything, let me show you how you can export these assets from Unreal. You just select them. Just select the assets that you want to export. And from File, you select Export, Selected, and I have already exported the asset. So I just wanted to mention how we can do it. And here's the version that is actually the character from scratch. And as you know, when you export a character from Bridge application, it is on ZL, and you should change it. So for changing it, for changing the coordinate to Y up, we go to Setting. We bring the Setting menu from here, Setting windows from here, and we select Y up and save it. Now I am going to select the light and root DRV and going to channel box, and in rotate X I am entering -90, and it's like that. But my camera is not actually is not working correctly. To fix it, you should reset it, and to reset the camera, you should hold the Alt key and Home key, so the camera is reset. Now I'm going to import the cloth. This is the cloth, and as you can see, the cloth is not entirely matched with the body. And if I go to the X-ray mode, you can see actually this area, the breast, is much bigger than Metahuman character, and for this area it is much slimmer. So what we can do for this kind of situation, and actually for all the situation that we have glove, we need to remove the underneath body because we don't want the body sometimes penetrating to the cloth and showing up. So to do that, I'm going to select this body and I'm going to duplicate it and unparent it by Shift and P. And I'm going to delete the portions that I don't want that are underneath the cloth, and I already on symmetry mode. I select this edge loop and this edge loop and delete it, and I'm going to double click on the body and delete it. So I have this portion of the body. This body is actually the body that I'm going to hide. This is the original body. Now I'm going to combine these geometries. But before combining them, I want to make sure that the name of the UV set that this geometry has, which is body, is the same name of the UV set of the cloth. So if you look at the UV set, which is in Windows Modeling Editor and UV Editor of the cloth, it has a UV set named map1. And all the objects you create in Maya or you import from other software usually have this name. But for the body, it has another name, and it is UV. So what we are going to do is to rename it. And the reason is that when we combine them, they both will have one UV set. But if they have different names, they will have two UV sets. And later we have to delete one of the UV sets. So I'm going to rename this UV set, and by this menu, I'm going to select rename current UV set, and I already entered map1 and I apply. Now it has map1 as its UV set name. Now the body is ready, but for the cloth, because we have imported the cloth from another software, usually the normal is locked and we need to unlock it before combining it. So I'm going to modeling menu, and from mesh display I'm going to unlock normals. And by doing that, as you can see, the normals are hard edges. And we also need to make them soft edges. And I'm selecting the geometry, shift click and right click, and from this menu I'm going to soften the normals. And also it is very important to delete the history. When you are combining two geometries, you want to delete the history, because if you don't do that, it's going to take a lot of time to get combined, or maybe Maya crashes. So we select both geometry, and by holding shift key and right click, this menu appears, and I'm going to select combine. And also I'm going to delete the history again for this node, because I want to get rid of this node. If you don't do that, it will make big difficulty for you when you are going to rig that. And you want a clean mesh without any extra node when you want to skin them. So the mesh is ready. I'm going to select body joint, select members, and selecting the mesh, and from rigging menu, skin and bind skin. Now the mesh is bind to the joints. And if you have seen the previous tutorials, which the link is in the description, and actually I recommend you to watch those tutorials too. And we need a mesh that comes with Metahuman, and it is called Combine. I'm going to hide the head and typing Combine so I can see the mesh. Here it is, and I'm going to unhide it. This mesh helps us attach a cloth to a Metahuman. So I'm going to select the mesh and select cloth from skin, and I'm going to select copy skin weights. So I'm going to copy the skin of the Metahuman, the character, to the cloth. Now I'm going to hide the combined geometry, which its name is combined, which comes from Metahuman character. And I'm going to unhide joints. And I don't need the joints for head. I'm going to hide it. And as you know, we need to, if you are going to rotate the joints, it's always root DRV, and you are going to keep the DH, actually DH body root always hidden, because we don't want to rotate these joints, because these joints are driven joints. So I'm going to rotate these joints, and as always, in the armpit area we have some problems, and it's easy to fix. I'm going to select these edges and these two, and I'm going to expand the selection, maybe 3 steps, and select and actually apply, use this tool, which is the hammer tool in the skin menu, which is here, hammer skin weights. And I'm going to use this tool, and it fixes the problem. Now I can get the joints back to 0, and also most of the time we have some kind of problem here. Actually, it is kind of hard to solve this problem with hammer alone, and we need some kind of other methods, which I explained for a skirt in my tutorial. You can watch the tutorial if you are interested, but for now let's do a quick fix for these areas. And I'm going to select these edges and this one, and expand them a little. Actually selecting this one too. And applying this tool, and it fixes to, yeah, it is actually acceptable. Now we can zero out the joints. Now what I'm going to do is putting the character on T-stand so I can apply animation to it, apply motion capture to it, and doing that is very easy. But if you do it once, you can record what you are doing. There are multiple ways that you can do it automatically. You can export the FBX file, and every time you import it, if the joints of FBX file is in T-stand and with the same name, the rotation of this skeleton is going to be the rotation of the FBX file. And also you can record what you are doing in script editor and put it on a shelf and do it automatically. So I'm going to do it for actually my camera is because even the right camera should be reset. I'm going to hold Alt key and Home key, and it is reset. And I'm going to put the character on his stand, and also, as you can see, the wrist is kind of rotated, and I need to fix it later. I'm a little picky when it comes to T-stand. Okay. Now, also the wrist. And ideally, we need to also straighten the fingers like this, like every finger should be straightened like that. And later, we can add control rigs to the fingers, and the thumb should be like that, straighten. Like that, and we can add control rig to the fingers too. But right now, I don't need control rigs for the fingers because the animation the motion capture has not animation for fingers, and it's just a simple fist, and I can do it with joints. So I'm not going to rig the fingers. So for the feet, and as you can see, the camera needs to be reset. Alt and Home. This is the front camera. And I'm going to straighten the feet too. Also this one. Now it's ready. Now this is the human IK window, and if it's not there, you can bring it by going to Animation Editor and Human IK. Now I'm going to create character definition, and I select on that, and I'm going to map the joints, and it's very easy. Double click on hips and select the hip. Double click on spine and select the spine, and go to the spine group. Double click, select. Double click, select. Double click, select. Double click, select. And this is neck, and I'm going to neck group. Double click, select, and double click, select. And the last one is head. Double click, select. And this is for shoulder. I'm going to shoulder group. Double click, select, and it automatically select the other side for me. And arm, select, forearm, select, and fit. And also this one which is obviously the ankle, and also there is an extra joint we need to map it to, because it is for the toe joint. And for that I'm going to select this finger and map it to this one. For some reason it doesn't do it automatically for feet, and that's it. Now I can rename the character like Metahuman and lock it. Ah, I forgot to define the hand, and now everything is green and validation is okay. I can lock it. And now let's save it in case we lose it by crashing, and I'm calling it and I'm going to import the animation, but I'm not going to import it from the import menu, because first of all, for some reason, apparently Maya 2020 has some bugs, and it doesn't accept to character definition when we import them. So instead of importing them, I'm going to reference them. So the shortcut for referencing is Control and R. I'm pressing Control and R, and I'm going to the folder, and my animation is called Roundhouse Kick, and this is my animation. As you can see, the animation is actually in 30 frame. The frame are not exactly on the frame that Maya is showing me. So the reason is that it is Maya by default is in 24 FPS, and we need to change it. And I'm going to go to setting, and from frame rate I'm going to select 30 frame per second. And now, as you can see, keyframes are exactly on the frames. Now we need also characterize this one, and it is very easy. Just right click on the skeleton and select assume preferred angle, and it is on T stand. Now I'm going to definition tab, and I'm adding another definition, and I select the joints, one of the joints, and select one of the joints of this window, and I select this icon. I press this icon that says load skeleton definition, and I select HIK template, and it's done. And I can lock it, character 1, which is the default name. And by the way, if you want to characterize your character, you can save your, for example, Metahuman definition, and each time you are going to characterize it, you can load it instead of doing it manually. You just need to do it once. And now I can let actually have a head, and I am unhiding the head, and I'm going to retarget this the metahuman to this animation. And for source, which is current, actually I'm selecting metahuman as character, and for source, which is currently none, I'm going to select the character 1 as source. As you can see, now we have the animation on our metahuman. Now, for fingers, as I said, it is easy because it's just a simple fist, and I'm going to position them. And actually, I don't want it to be a closed fist. I think this is more natural. And yeah, that's enough. And I'm going to hide this. Now, what I'm going to do is to bake the animation to control it for my metahuman, and I'm from this menu, this blue one, and I'm bringing the bake menu and bake to control it. And now I don't need this character anymore with, the Mixama character, and for removing it, I'm going to File, Reference Editor, and here I can remove it. And maybe deleting the character 1, 2, and save it. Now I'm going to import the scene that I exported from Unreal. And FBX. Here's the scene. And these geometries are collider, and I'm going to delete the collider one. And for if you want to actually move the character to a place, we should use this node, which is called control reference. And by this node, I can move the character to the desired place. And also, the height of this flip-flop is exactly the height of shoes that comes with Metahuman. If you have a shoes with your character, this is exactly the same height, and I'm going to use. That's why the character comes with this flip-flop. And now maybe rotating it a bit, and as you can see, not only the character doesn't reach to the device. The kick is not, the kick is kind of ugly, and I'm going to fix this. So what I'm going to do is actually select full body, so the entire rig is selected, and I select one of the control rig, and I'm going to animation layer and make a layer. Now I can modify my animation. The great thing about Human IK is that it is a full body rig, which means with any of this controller I can control the other controllers. And right now I am on full body, and I will have a tutorial explaining in detail the Human IK. But for now we just stick to full body. And if I drag her feet, as you can see, this feet is just still on the ground. And if I position it and like adding a keyframe for this animation layer, something weird is going to happen. If you look at the animation, you can see it's kind of weird. And the reason is that we need 0 keys. Currently, we don't have 0 keys. 0 keys means when we want the animation modification to start and when we want it to be finished. And because we don't have 0 keys right now and we just have 1 key, the modification has been applied for the entire animation. And now I'm going to have a 0 key, and I'm going to frame 18 and bring the animation layer to 0 and have a key. And also now this is the original animation without animation layer. I'm bringing the animation layer to 1 to see the effect. As you can see, I have this, but I also need 0 key to finish the modification. And I think this frame is okay. And I add a 0 key. Also, I think there is a button, I believe, yeah. This is the button that actually you can apply 0 key without having the way to 0. And let's take a look. And it's not bad, but there is something still I'm not happy with, and this is this feet moving, and we can adjust it. Maybe you would say we can add more keyframes to adjust this, but the problem is something else. Actually, if I go ahead and say, okay, here it is right, and I can add a keyframe as 0 key, and here I can bring it down like this, I can fix the problem, but this is not the correct way to fix it. As you can see, it is still moves. It is moving, and you never can get rid of this moving. And the correct way to do that, actually I'm going to do a bunch of Ctrl Z to remove those keys. Actually, the correct way to do that, to keep this foot on the ground, is to go to Human IK and select the controller and add IK pool. This is super cool. This is one of the coolest thing about Human IK. And the IK pool is actually telling that one of these one of these controller is the dominant controller, and it is not supposed to be dragged by other controllers. And the controller that has more IQ pool is more dominant. So because we made this controller the dominant controller, it is not going to be dragged by this controller. So it stays still. As you can see, our animation is ready. Now, for exporting it to Unreal, we don't need to bake animation to joint and actually losing our animation layer. The only thing we should do is just select the character or cloth and go to export selection. And for example, here the exporter has an option that says bake animation, and it actually bakes animation to the corresponding joint without needing us to bake it. And by doing that, actually if I do that, everything is intact, and I still can have my character with Ctrl-E and have my animation baked and ready for Unreal by just the export option. So as you can see, I've already attached a cloth to this character, but I'm going to import the other cloth that I exported to show you the workflow. So I'm going to import the cloth 2, and I'm going to select Metahuman base skeletal. And as you can see, we have imported the other cloth. It is exactly the same cloth that we have here. And let's bring everything to normal. Actually, what I have done is I disable visibility for the body, and I added the cloth to torso, and I'm going to reset everything. This is a normal metahuman. As you go to blueprint, what you should do is actually disable the body visibility, because we have a body with cloth already. And I'm going to uncheck the visibility, and also keep in mind you never change the mesh of the body. If you want to attach a cloth, you are not going to attach it to the body. You just remove the visibility. And I'm going to torso, and this is the cloth 1, the cloth 2. I'm going to attach the cloth 1 that already has materials. And this is the cloth. And as you can see, element 0 is responsible for body material. And the only thing you should do is to attach body material to element 0. And I'm going to show you where the body material is. And in Metahuman, select your Metahuman and materials. And this is the body material that you should attach to element 0 that is responsible for body. And for animation, it is very straightforward. You just import the animation. As you can see, I have animation of the cloth animation. The animation has come from cloth, and I just added the animation, and it is exactly the place that it should be. And regarding the camera, as you can see, this camera has already baked And this is a 2-node camera. Here it is. The aim and camera, you can find a lot of tutorial about that. And the only thing you need to do is to bake the camera after adding animation to the camera and export it as fpix. And in Unreal, in your camera, you right click on your camera and select import and select your camera, and the animation of the camera will be on your camera that you have already in your sequencer from Maya camera. Thank you for watching.